It was a chilly day in Martinsville for the race this past weekend. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Inside Winston Cup Racing. That's where we are at the half-a-mile Martinsville Speedway in Martinsville, Virginia, where they ran the Haynes 500 this past weekend. And as always, excitement on the short track. We have a lot for you in this half hour of Inside Winston Cup Racing, and here's what's coming up.
The 1992 Haynes 500 in Martinsville gave the General Motors teams their first chance to visit victory lane this season. But after some broken axles and some shattered dreams, it was Mark Martin, the man left standing with a smile in victory lane. We'll have the highlights of the Haynes 500 coming up.
It was 1991 Busch Grand National champion Bobby Labonte in victory lane for the first time in 1992, getting a break from a late caution and passing Kenny Wallace to win the Nestle's 300. I'll have all the highlights from Lanier Raceway in Gainesville, Georgia.
And we'll take you behind the scenes on a typical race weekend, where there are souvenir vendors, campers, and literally hundreds of people pulling together to have a party for 46,000 fans.
Inside Winston Cup Racing is brought to you by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft and Miller Genuine Draft Light, taking the country by storm. Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. And by Champion Spark Plugs, the world's #1 selling spark plug, no matter what you drive.
Guess who just got back today? Them wild-eyed boys that had been away. The boys are back in town, boys are back in town.
The Miller Genuine Draft Rusty Wallace stock car is back in town, so you better hold on.
Spread the word around. Guess who's back in town?
Last year, Michael Andretti added something new to his car. It wasn't more engine displacement or bigger wings. It was the same Haviland Formula 3 motor oil you can buy straight off the shelf to add more life to your car with complete protection against heat stress, starting friction, and engine dirt. Now, we're not saying it was Haviland Formula 3 that gave Michael the energy to sweep the IndyCar Championship last year, but we're not saying it wasn't.
All of these championship-winning drivers have one thing in common: Goodyear Racing Eagles. The race-winning technology that's found in the Goodyear Racing Eagles can also be found in the world's best-selling line of high-performance street tires, Goodyear Eagle Street Radials. The champions know, and it's why we say the best tires in the world have Goodyear written all over them.
You'd think the world would be nothing but a blur at this speed. But at 200 miles an hour, a lot of things become clear. Like what technology can help make our cars perform better, our trucks tougher, and help make them all safer for the street. Because at Ford, we want to stay ahead in more places than just the racetrack. Have you driven a Ford lately?
If you don't like the looks of your car, shoot it with Son of a Gun from STP. Shoot the dash, seats, tires, and roof. Son of a Gun protecting. Man, what a difference.
A little over a year ago, we did a feature on a couple of young boys who have a rare disease, adrenoleukodystrophy, Danny and Leon Crump of Morganton, North Carolina. Well, some people in Colorado saw that story, and lo and behold, their sons also contracted that disease. And through our story here on Inside Winston Cup Racing, they were able, through the Crumps, to get help for their boys. Well, this coming Saturday on May the 9th at the Poco Rhythm Ranch in Morganton, North Carolina, there's going to be a Race for Life benefit for the Crump brothers. They need bone marrow transplant. And so there's going to be a big fundraiser for them. A lot of people in racing will be there, so we hope that you can go and help these young boys as well. Well, we mentioned that it was a crisp day here in Martinsville, Virginia, almost football weather. There was a lot of football ties involved with the Haynes 500. For more on that and the highlights, here's Randy.
Well, to kick off the news here from the Haynes 500, it was announced during this Martinsville weekend that former Trop Arctic 66 driver Chad Little will be forming a team with Washington Redskins quarterback Mark Rippon. That's just a portion of the football theme from this weekend, as the Grand Marshal here for the Haynes 500 was none other than Boomer Esiason, quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. Boomer was here, and we had a chance to talk to him about this event here at Martinsville.
I'll tell you, this is a whole new avenue for me. I mean, it is just unbelievably exciting. And once you get down here and you feel the excitement and the intensity, I mean, there's no way but to get hooked on something like this. So I can see why a lot of these guys want to get involved.
Dale Jarrett was hoping that by sporting the Cincinnati Bengals helmet and having Boomer Esiason here for the Haynes 500, it would bring him a little luck. He didn't do so well during qualifying, but his other General Motors counterparts did, particularly the Chevrolet drivers of Dale Earnhardt, who qualified on the outside of the front row, and Darrell Waltrip, who won his first pole position since winning at Talladega in 1988.
Today's Winston Cup highlights are brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
For the first time this season, Fords failed to fill out the front row of a Winston Cup field. Darrell Waltrip led the crowd of cars off into turn one, but the black GM Goodwrench Chevy of Dale Earnhardt emerged as the leader before the first lap was finished. With the help of 5 caution flags in the first 59 circuits, 23 of which were run at a regulated pace, Earnhardt was able to steer clear of trouble and keep his lead over Waltrip, both of whom were looking for their first victories of the year, hoping to vindicate a Ford sweep of all 8 races in this season. A cool racetrack placed a premium on the crew chief's chassis setup, and the Purelator Chevrolet of Derek Cope had trouble with his. He was unable to find the line, first being nudged by Davey Allison on lap 57. Then on lap 58, he returned the favor to the Ford driver. Allison would lose a lap. Derek would bring his Chevy behind the wall, a place he'd stay for much of the race. Alan Kawicki forged his way to the front in his Ford after caution number 5. Kawicki cruised to a comfortable lead, one which he would hold for the next 219 laps. But just after halfway, Alan went behind the wall with a broken axle, a problem that would plague many of the top competitors. Then it was Ernie Irvan and Dale Earnhardt proceeding to put on a show at the front, with Ernie finally grabbing the top spot on lap 314. But after pacing the pack for the next 50 laps, he also had an axle failure. That means he's failed to finish in the top 10 yet this season. Darrell Waltrip also put on a show at the front of the pack with Earnhardt. Unfortunately, Waltrip was a lap down after an early pit stop incident. Winston Cup points leader Davey Allison had a top 10 in hand. That is until he cut a tire and took down the wall in turn 2. Allison would finish 26th, but hangs on to the Winston Cup points lead. There was one more major crash before the race would be decided. Kyle Petty, plagued with misfortune all afternoon, lost his brakes and nailed the wall in turn 2 on lap 462. With Petty's Pontiac flattened, flames began to pour from the front. Finally, Jeff Bodine, on the sidelines from an earlier wreck, raced to his aid, snuffing the flames while another crew member helped Kyle from the car. A close call, but Kyle emerged without injury. The race restarted with only 4 cars left on the lead lap, and Earnhardt having to nurse another broken axle. Brett Bodine took off into turn 1 with the lead, but he broke an A-frame. That's when Mark Martin poured his Ford into the lead for the first time this season. One more yellow slowed the field with 5 laps to go. Martin had to hold off only Sterling Marlin, the only other driver left on the lead lap. Martin circulated the track the final 4 laps without a flaw and found his way to victory lane for the first time this season. Darrell Waltrip was 3rd and Terry Labonte 4th. Harry Gant rounded out the top 5.
Dale was strong, but we were going to put on a great show for everybody, you know, because we had saved and we're watching the laps, and when it got 50 to go, it was going to be time to go, and we had a great car, a fast car, and I think we showed that at the end.
And, of course, the Winston Cup drivers are in Talladega, Alabama this weekend for the Winston 500. We need to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to take a look inside at what goes on a race weekend. And as we leave you for this break, here's this week's Richard Petty Profile.
Brought to you by Champion Spark Plugs. No matter what you drive.
The 1984 Firecracker 400 had all the fireworks a race fan could ask for. Even the command to start engines was special, delivered by President Reagan aboard Air Force One.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
The race boiled down to a battle between modern-day legends, the King, Richard Petty, and Cale Yarborough. Doug Heveron's crash in turn 1 sent Cale and the King into a 2.5-mile race to the yellow. It was lap 157 of the scheduled 160. The two cars bumped as they charged toward Harold Kinder's yellow flag. Petty edged Yarborough and picked up his 200th career win as the race finished under caution. It is truly one of the most memorable and emotional moments in motorsports, and sharing it with President Reagan made it that much more special for Richard Petty.
Well, definitely, 200 is very, very important, but under the circumstances, with all the presidents that's ever been in the United States, this is the first one that's ever showed up at a racetrack. So everybody's got to go from that, from racing standpoint, and I wanted to be the one that was able to welcome him to Grand National Racing.
This Petty Profile brought to you by Champion Spark Plugs. Call 1-900-288-PLUG for the latest information on NASCAR events and have the option to receive a 1992 Champion Racing Kit, plus a chance to win a trip for two to one of our 4 selected Winston Cup races. 1-900-288-PLUG, $2.95 per call, must be 18 years or older. Void where prohibited by law.
If you don't like the looks of your car, shoot it with son of a gun from STP. Shoot the dash, seats, tires, and roof. Son of a gun protecting. Man, what a difference.
Richard Petty, the only driver ever to win 200 Winston Cup races. All on Champion Spark Plugs.
Jerry, your help out here really does make a difference in the way I run.
Well, Richard, this is our testing ground. It makes a difference in the way we build our spark plugs, too.
They work for me in both my cars. Whether I'm racing or going home, I depend on Champion Spark Plugs.
See Richard Petty race in the Champion Spark Plug 500 on June 14th at Pocono Raceway.
Not that old lawn equipment again.
Last year he nearly jerked me up by the roots.
Wait a minute. All new home light equipment.
I told you he knows a great value when he sees one.
Look, it's a home light blower and a string trimmer.
Yes.
A home light hedge trimmer and chainsaw and a new home light mulching mower.
I love it when he gets environmental.
Just a little off the top, please. Do it right. Do it home light. Enter the Home Light Hot Hoop Sweepstakes. You could win a trip to the 1993 All-Star Game.
There's only one way to go for high-performance off-road or traditional replacement parts and accessories. Key Parts Auto Stores, featuring GT Styling's OmniGuard full protection deflector, a shield from bugs and stones, and the new Aero Wing rear window deflector, custom molded and made to battle grime. Call 1-800-453-4000 for your nearest Key Parts Auto Store and for your Key Parts catalog, just $249 and packed with hundreds of dollars in discount coupons.
Coming up on race day Sunday morning at 11:30 Eastern, we'll bring you up to date as the Indy cars continue to qualify for the Indianapolis 500. Plus, we'll have the latest word from Talladega just before the green flag falls on the Winston 500. And we'll bring you racing highlights from other events from around the country. So join us.
Race Day, 2 different editions, 11:30 a.m. and 8:30 p.m. Eastern, TNN Motorsports Sundays.
Now, certainly you race fans know of all the planning and work that's involved in getting ready for a race weekend. Have you ever thought about what is involved in putting on a NASCAR Winston Cup race? Well, while we were here at Martinsville, we took a look behind the scenes at what goes on race weekend.
The weekend at Martinsville Speedway began with the big rigs rolling in around 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday. So far, only the diehard fans had found their way to the beautiful half mile nestled among the dogwoods and the rolling hills of Virginia. Soon the cars were unloaded and the crews commenced with their weekend ritual, a ritual of wrench turning and car tuning, which continues right up to the green flag. By the time the first cars rolled out for practice, several thousand fans had already found their way to their favorite seats, all looking forward to a weekend away from work, one filled with the sights and sounds of race cars. But long before the fans seek their first autograph, there are thousands of details and decisions that must be dealt with in order to pull off what track owner Clay Earls calls a party for 46,000 people.
Very often, people ask us, so what do you do off season when you don't have a race? And well, I tell them all the same thing. We're getting ready for the next race, and so it's a thing you can't put together overnight. It takes months to do it.
For most, a weekend at the racetrack is a chance to kick back, meet new friends. It's campfires and cookouts, some good conversation, just enjoying the simple pleasures, like passing the football, or just plain passing the time.
Where are the wives?
What wife?
They're home. Left them home?
Paying for this trip. They got to work today.
Oh, I bet they ate that.
That's the truth. Mine's going to be up here about 3 o'clock this season. You better believe it's going to be a change in attitude.
To help ease the tension, they probably took them to Souvenir Alley for maybe a t-shirt or two. For the vendors, it's a weekend at work, making their living with all kinds of racing merchandise and memorabilia. You've got all these products in there. How do you know how much to bring of what items and things like that?
Well, Randy, truthfully, it varies from track to track. You know, there's one item will go here that don't go at the next track. And, you know, you can sell jackets here by the dozens, and then the next track you go to, you're all T-shirts. So you just ad lib.
Program.
It literally takes hundreds upon hundreds of people to put together a Winston Cup weekend. Just getting people into the track is a task in itself.
The county deputies, the off-duty deputies and part-time deputies are the ones we hire. None of it is furnished to us for free. We hire these people, the ones that's off-duty and that's available.
There are tickets to be sold, credentials to be considered, and then there's the media.
It's a 105-seat press box. We access more than that just to come in, grab a bite to eat before they go to work, like you guys with your cameras and all. You know, give them a chance to eat lunch and go out. So we're probably looking at 200 people in here easily. I've just left the hospitality area, which I also deal with, and that's another new world for me. So it's it's a glamorous job, sure, but it's work.
Can you see by the dawn's early light?
After months of preparation, it all comes together. A party complete with 46,000 fans. But after it's all over, there's still a lot of work to do. Like who's gonna clean up after the fans file out?
Well, that's just an example of one track here at the Martinsville Speedway of all the work that goes on, and certainly we commend all of the racetrack operators and their help around the country for the great job they do every weekend. We need to take a short break. Still to come are highlights of the Nestle 200 Busch Grand National race from the Lanier Speedway in Gainesville, Georgia. And as we leave you for this break, here's this week's Haviland Track Talk.
This edition of Track Talk is brought to you by Haviland. Add more life to your car.
At each and every Winston Cup race, safety for crew members, drivers, and the fans is a major concern for NASCAR. And one step they're taking to ensure the quickest medical attention possible, if anyone has a problem, is Air Care, a $4 million medical helicopter.
This is a Bell 412 SP. It's made by Bell Helicopters, of course. The helicopter itself is a medical transport package, what we have here in the back. The aircraft is leased through Air Methods, which is out of Englewood, Colorado. We carry a complement of 2 pilots, a nurse, and a paramedic on board at all times. We can carry up to 4 patients, like I said before, and attendance of 4 more personnel. So we can actually carry up to 8 people in the back. That would be very rare, but that has the possibilities. As far as speed goes, we usually cruise around 125 to 130 miles per hour. We want to get to the patient and get them back into our level 1 trauma center within that golden hour, because sometimes that means the meaning between life and death itself.
that has been away. The boys are back in town, boys are back in town.
The Miller Genuine Draft Rusty Wallace stock car is back in town. So you better hold on.
Spread the word around. Guess who's back in town?
Last year, Mario Andretti added something new to his car. It wasn't better ground effects or more valves per cylinder. It was the same Haviland Formula 3 motor oil you can buy straight off the shelf to add more life to your car with complete protection against heat stress, starting friction, and engine dirt. Now, we're not saying it was Haviland Formula 3 that gave Mario the energy to race to his 27th spectacular IndyCar season. But we're not saying it wasn't.
Mission: create the ultimate automobile polish. Establish the new definition of shine, the new standard for protection. Mission accomplished. Liquid Crystal, the most technologically advanced automobile polish ever made. Liquid Crystal was applied to this 1982 Blazer with no rubbing, no buffing. Its showroom shine is instantly restored. After polishing with Liquid Crystal, this car was put through a car wash 104 times, 2 years worth of car washings, and water still beads. Liquid Crystal will give your car unequaled protection and an extraordinary deep gloss shine nothing on the street can beat. Try Liquid Crystal. If you don't agree that it shines and protects better than any car wax you've ever used, we'll send you your money back. Liquid Crystal Automobile Polish. Quite simply, the best shine and protection money can buy.
Voting for the TNN Music City News Country Awards is going on now. Today's category is Vocal Collaboration of the Year. Keep watching TNN for details.
Crook and Chaser finally getting what they deserve. A full hour live. Weeknights at 8 and 11 p.m. Eastern, right here on TNN.
Next week, we'll have highlights from the Winston 500 in Talladega. Last year, Harry Gant found his way to victory lane after running on fumes and getting a little help from a friend. We'll see who'll take this year's title. We'll bring you highlights next week.
The Granger Select 200 moves to May to run under the lights on a Saturday night. Chuck Bown is the defending champion at the New River Valley Speedway. We'll have all the Busch Grand National action and more next week.
The NASCAR Busch Grand National drivers had another short track event this past weekend, the Nestle's 200 at the Lanier Speedway in Gainesville, Georgia. Bobby Labonte, last year's champion, got back on track, his first win of 1992. Bill Weber has the highlights.
Now, Jeff Gordon finished second a year ago here, but it's a year later. He's got his first win and another pole. Jeff, this was a rookie track a year ago, but you're a veteran now. Can you lead wire to wire and take the checkered flag here?
I think wire to wire is asking a little bit too much just to come away with the win, whether we just lead the last lap or, any lap. That would be great. But I tell you, right now, the Baby Ruth Thunderbird's running really good. We got our motor program together. Car's working good. Ray Evernham and the whole crew, they're all working hard during the week, and it's paying off right now on the weekends.
Gordon led the 28-car field onto the 3/8 of a mile oval, minus Atlanta Falcons coach Jerry Glanville, who failed to qualify. From the start of the race, Gordon and his Baby Ruth Ford were clearly the combination to catch, let alone try to beat, as he threaded his way through the field. After the demolition derby that developed at Hickory, NASCAR warned drivers to race the competition, not wreck them. The first of 5 caution flags flew for Richard Lassiter and Clifford Allison, but the flagman was the only one who could get Gordon to slow down. Chuck Bown, Robert Presley, and Bobby Labonte were battling for second, trying to keep Gordon in sight as Jeff led past lap 100. Kenny Wallace worked his way toward the front after starting 10th. He was running a solid second to Gordon, who was by far the best on this day. But Gordon's Ford developed a throttle linkage problem, allowing Wallace to work his way by on lap 178. Just a few laps later, Gordon pitted for a flat right rear tire, and when the crew went under the hood, they removed the air cleaner to free the throttle linkage. NASCAR didn't care for that prescription, and Gordon's headaches continued when he was black flagged for running without the air cleaner. Wallace took over where Gordon left off, leading 99 laps. Sammy Pegram's front stretch spin late in the race brought out the caution and bunched up the field. On the restart, Labonte roped in Wallace and took the lead with 34 laps left. Chuck Bown slipped past Wallace and Robert Presley and into second, But Bobby took his Slim Jim Chevrolet to the checkers 2 seconds in front of Bound for his first win since Indianapolis last August, 18 races ago.
Kind of one of them deals. I followed Robert Presley, and I learned a lot from him because I followed him all day long, it seemed like. And I thought, well, now I'm going to try something in passing because my dad said we're catching 36 car. Try it and go. And by the time I did, the 59 car faded a little bit, and then we caught the yellow. So, 36 was a good ways out there, but we had 30 laps to go then.
Today's Mailbox is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft.
Our question today is from Suzanne Fisher of Brooklawn, New Jersey, who writes, does the Rookie of the Year honor entitle the person to any type of show or additional money when he qualifies for a Winston Cup race? Well, Suzanne, for that answer, we'll go to last year's Rookie of the Year winner, Bobby Hamilton, who drives the Country Time Oldsmobile.
Well, Susan, that's a very good question. What we get into when you win the Rookie of the Year honors, you get the honor right off the bat, and at the Waldorf we got $21,000. But to answer your question, every race we qualify for this season, we get $1,000 for starting the race.
If you have any race questions, you can write to us at Inside Winston Cup Racing, Box 240-417, Charlotte 28224. If we use your question on the air, you'll receive this embroidered Miller Genuine Draft jacket free. Fans 21 and under will receive an IWCR cap and T-shirt.
Well, our time's up for today. Hope you enjoyed the show. But before we go, we have one more charity that we want to mention. It's the first annual Celebrity Charity Bass Tour presented by Carolina Team Trail. It benefits the 600 children's charities. It's on Monday, May the 18th at Ramsey Creek Access of Lake Norman, North Carolina. For more information, you can write the address on the screen, or you can call 704-377-0600 or 704-536-5600. We'll see you here next week from Talladega, Alabama.
Inside Winston Cup Racing has been brought to you by cold-filtered Miller Genuine Draft and Miller Genuine Draft Light, taking the country by storm. Haviland Formula 3 Motor Oil. Add more life to your car. And by the First Brand Corporation, makers of STP Son of a Gun Protectant. Transportation for Inside Winston Cup Racing crew provided by Fleetwood Enterprises, makers of a full line of excellent recreational vehicles.
Race Day, next on TNN. This is TNN, the Nashville Network, the #1 source for country music, entertainment, and information.